What's going on, guys? It's Greg here, aka NYPrepper. In this video, I'm going to be doing a penetration test with some 10mm ammunition, and I'm going to be shooting it at some regular 1/2-inch 3-ply plywood. And the firearm I'm going to be using in this test is my Rock Island Armory TAC Ultra high capacity threaded 10mm, and this pistol is basically a high capacity 1911 10mm, and I'll show you guys the magazine here. You can see it's a double stack magazine. So this magazine holds 16 rounds of 10mm, and this is a 1911. Okay, absolutely beautiful handgun. I love it. Very reliable, built like a tank. And ammunition I'm going to be using for this test is some Buffalo Bore 220 grain hard cast heavy outdoorsman, the Underwood ammo 150 grain Xtreme Hunter, the Buffalo Bore 190 grain dangerous game mono metal, the Underwood 220 grain hard cast PMC bronze 200 grain full metal jacket, and finally some Underwood ammo 200 grain jacketed hollow points. Now with this pistol, I pretty much get the same velocities that are printed on the box, or slightly more, at most 50 feet per second more than what's on the box, but usually I get what's printed on the box or 25 to 50 feet per second more. Okay, so whatever's printed on the box with these loads, that's what I'm pretty much getting with this pistol, because it does have a 5.5-inch barrel. And so the way I have this plywood set up is I take 1 foot by 1 foot sheets of plywood that I cut, and I screw them all together into a giant block, and then I'm going to shoot at them from about 5 or 10 yards away. And after I shoot at the plywood block, I'm going to unscrew the block. I'm going to separate all the sheets, and we're going to look through each sheet to see how many sheets each load penetrated through. And then afterwards, I'm going to try to recover the bullets. We're going to take a closer look at them to see what kind of deformation occurred, what kind of expansion occurred. We're going to see if they penetrated in a straight line or if they tumbled. And we're going to check the weight retention. We're also going to take some measurements to see what kind of expansion occurred. So I hope you guys enjoy the video, and thanks for watching. Alright guys, so the first shot we're going to take is just with some standard FMJ range ammo. This is PMC bronze 200 grain full metal jacket with an advertised velocity of 1,050 feet per second. We're going to be shooting it out of my Rock Island 1911. Alright guys, so now we're going to shoot the Underwood 200 grain jacketed hollow point with an advertised velocity of 1,200 feet per second. Alright guys, so now we're going to hit it with the Underwood 220 grain hard cast barrel load that has an advertised velocity of 1,200 feet per second. Alright guys, so now we're going to hit it with buffalo bore 220 grain hard cast with an advertised velocity of 1,200 feet per second. This is advertised as a bear load. Alright guys, so now we're going to hit it with some buffalo bore 190 grain monometal with an advertised velocity of 1,200 feet per second. This is advertised as a dangerous game load. Let's see what happens here. Alright guys, so now we're going to hit it with the Underwood Xtreme Hunter. This is a 150 grain solid bullet with an advertised velocity of 1,450 feet per second. And then we're also going to hit it again with the Underwood 200 grain jacketed hollow point with an advertised velocity of 1,200 feet per second. So let's see what happens here. Alright guys, so I want to share the results of the test with you. So our deepest penetrating load, the one that penetrated through the most sheets of 1/2 inch Southern Yellow Pine 3-ply plywood. This is standard plywood that you use in your house. Was the buffalo bore 220 grain heavy outdoorsman hard cast. And that one penetrated through 13 sheets. Next, we had the Underwood 150 grain Xtreme Hunter. That one penetrated through 12 sheets. And then we have the Buffalo Bore 190 grain monometal dangerous game. That one penetrated through 11 sheets. And then we have the Underwood 220 grain hard cast. And that one penetrated through 11 sheets. Then the PMC Full Metal Jacket penetrated through 9 sheets. And finally, the Underwood 200 grain jacketed hollow points penetrated the least amount of plywood. They only penetrated through 7 sheets. So pretty interesting results, guys. The 10mm packs quite a punch for such a little cartridge. And what's really interesting is that the 150 grain Xtreme Hunter from Underwood penetrated 1 more sheet of plywood than both the Buffalo Bore 190 grain monometal dangerous game and the Underwood 220 grain hard cast. So that's really interesting. I did not expect that. I expected the Xtreme Hunter to have a little bit less penetration than the Underwood 220 grain hard cast and the Buffalo Bore monometal. So what I want to do now is I want to go through each sheet of plywood one by one and show you guys exactly what happened in the plywood. I'm going to try to dig out these bullets so we can take a closer look at them and take some measurements and weigh them to see what kind of weight retention we have. But before we do all of this, I just want to share the results of some other plywood penetration tests that I've done. So a 300 Winchester Magnum with 180 grain solids can penetrate 38 sheets, and 180 grain AccuBond going at around 3,000 feet per second can penetrate 16 sheets. So that's pretty impressive, guys. All right, the 10 millimeter heavy outdoorsman from Buffalo Bore penetrated only 3 sheets less than a 300 Win Mag 180 grain AccuBond traveling at 3,000 feet per second. That is just incredible. 4570 380 grain monometal can penetrate 33 sheets, and the Hornady Lever Evolution 325 grain flex tip can penetrate through 12 sheets. So pretty interesting, guys. Lot of penetration from that heavy outdoorsman. But I'm gonna go through these sheets now, and we're gonna try to recover the bullets. So stay tuned. All right, guys, so as you can see, my marksmanship was perfect. I perfectly shot in this type of an orientation here to space out these bullets equal distance, all right? And that Rock Island Armory is really accurate, much more accurate than my Glock 20. So this is the first sheet here, and this big hole, you can ignore that. That's from a 12 gauge shotgun test that I did. All right, but here's all of our shots here. Up here we got the Buffalo Bore monometal, underneath it the Buffalo Bore heavy outdoorsman. On the bottom here we got the Underwood 200 grain jacketed hollow points, PMC full metal jacket, Underwood 220 grain hard cast, and then the Underwood Xtreme Hunter. Okay, here's the back of the first sheet. All right, all penetrating through. Here's the second sheet. Okay, all penetrating through. Here is the third sheet. Pretty big holes in that plywood, guys. Look at that hole right there. That's pretty impressive. Here we have the fourth sheet. Here we have the fifth sheet. And these entrance holes are starting to really get big, especially on these jacketed hollow points. Look at the size of these entrance holes compared to my thumb. You know, that's probably a 1-inch diameter entrance hole. So pretty impressive. And up here we have the Xtreme Hunter. And look at the size of that hole. Pretty big hole there from that Xtreme Hunter. Here we have the sixth sheet. Okay. And here we have the seventh sheet. And all of them penetrated through the seventh sheet. And then here we have our 2 Underwood jacketed hollow points, 200 grain. So I'm going to try to dig these out for you guys. And here we have the ninth sheet. This is the PMC full metal jacket. You can see it just poked out the back, so that's why I'm calling it 9 sheets. Because I think if there wasn't another sheet behind it, it probably would have kept going through. All right, but because there was a sheet behind it, it stopped it from poking through and traveling. Okay, so there's that little nose there. Okay, here we have the 10th sheet. Here we have the 11th and 12th sheet. All right, and these bullets are actually holding these 2 sheets together. So here's the Underwood 220 grain hard cast. Here's the Buffalo Bore 190 grain monometal. Okay, and you can see the bumps here from them. You see these 2 bumps there. And then here we have the Xtreme Hunter. Okay, and you can see it poked out the back of the 12th sheet. And that's pretty impressive. So it penetrated deeper than the monometal from Buffalo Bore and the Underwood 220 grain hard cast. Okay, and a good amount of that bullet poked out. Look at that, guys. The entire nose poked out. So pretty interesting. And my guess is the reason why it was able to penetrate a little bit more was because of these sharp petals that they have at the nose. You know, they kind of have like this sharp cutout, and that helps with cutting through wood And because plywood is glued together, it has a tendency of holding together better than regular wood. So a slower moving bullet that can't really tear through wood is going to get slowed down quicker. And I think that's why the monometal and the Underwood hard cast didn't penetrate as much as the Xtreme Hunter. Plus the Xtreme Hunter is traveling like 200 feet per second faster. But that's pretty impressive, guys. All right, pretty impressive. And then here we have our winner. Okay, the Buffalo Bore Heavy Outdoorsman, penetrating through 13 sheets of 1/2-inch Southern Yellow Pine 3-ply plywood. All right, and these two sheets are actually held together, and it looks like it could have almost penetrated through the 14th sheet. Look at that, guys. All right, it bulged out quite a bit there, but it didn't actually poke through, so we're going to say 13 sheets and not 14. If the nose was actually poking out, then I would say 14, but it looks like just a little bit less than 14 sheets, okay? So I'm going to try to dig these bullets out now. We're going to take a closer look at them, so stay tuned. All right, guys, so I managed to recover all the bullets. Here we have the Buffalo Bore 220 grain Heavy Outdoorsman. And look at that beautiful bullet, guys. It retained all of its shape pretty much. The nose didn't deform at all, which is something that is common with hard cast bullets, is that the nose deforms. But you can see that this bullet maintained its shape. So whatever company Buffalo Bore is using to cast these bullets is doing a really good job. But Buffalo Bore definitely knows what they're doing. They definitely picked a good cast bullet company, because this cast bullet just looks perfect, okay? And if we compare it to the Underwood, you can see a huge difference between them, okay? The quality of these bullets here, okay? Look at the Underwood, how the nose is all banged up. It's all messed up, and you know, you can see it shed a little bit of its nose and deformed quite a bit, versus the Buffalo Bore looks a lot better, okay? The Buffalo Bore looks a lot cleaner. It didn't deform as much, and the Underwood hardcast is just completely mangled up. So we're going to weigh these and see what the weight retention is. Here's the Xtreme Hunter. Okay, and you can see the nose on the Xtreme Hunter looks perfect. No issues with the nose at all. It didn't deform whatsoever. And there you have those sharp petals, okay? But it looks fine. No deformation there. Here we have the 190 grain monometal. No deformation whatsoever. It looks absolutely perfect. Okay, see the nose there? There's the base, no deformation whatsoever, as to be expected. Here is the PMC bronze full metal jacket, and I'm pretty impressed by this PMC bronze. It really didn't deform at all, actually. Look at that nose. It has some scratches on it from when I was trying to pry it out of the plywood, but I mean, it's in pretty good shape. Look at that, guys. Pretty impressive. So I'm pretty impressed by this 10 millimeter, guys. I was a skeptic of the 10 millimeter for a long time, but now I'm a believer. I understand why people love this caliber so much. And then finally, we have the Underwood 200 grain jacketed hollow points, and you can see they didn't really expand much. They kind of just flattened out, but they didn't really mushroom much. And that's pretty common with pistol bullets when shooting at wood, because pistols don't generate as much muzzle velocity as a rifle. So when you shoot drier objects like wood, there's just not enough velocity for bullets to expand, pistol bullets that is. And I've seen this even with my .44 Magnum. when shooting at different types of wood. A lot of times the soft points won't expand or hollow points won't expand. So what I'm actually going to do now is I'm going to take my calipers and we're just going to see what kind of expansion we got here with these Underwood jacketed hollow points. Look at that, guys. 0.607 inches of expansion in wood. That is impressive. All right. That is just crazy. And of course, if you shot this at living tissue, it would expand a lot more because of the fluid content. 0.565 inches. So lots of expansion, guys. All right. 0.614. 0.53, so they expanded over half an inch. That's pretty impressive, guys. So I'm going to get my reloading scale and we're going to weigh these bullets and see what kind of weight retention we got. All right, guys, so I got my scale. Got a 100-gram weight here just to make sure we're zeroed out. 100 grams. Okay, so the scale is zeroed. And let's start with the deepest penetrating bullet, the Buffalo Bore Heavy Outdoorsman. This one penetrated through 13 sheets. Wow, look at that. 215.6 grains. Basically almost 100% weight retention. That is absolutely impressive, guys. I am really impressed by this Buffalo Bore Heavy Outdoorsman 10mm ammo. And my recommendation to you guys is if you're carrying a 10mm for bear protection, get yourself the Buffalo Bore Heavy Outdoorsman, okay, the 220 grain hard cast. Buffalo Bore knows what they're doing. All of their loads are very, very good, and especially their bear loads, their hard cast loads. I've never had any issues with them, and they always end up being the deepest penetrating bullets of any caliber. So pretty cool, guys. Very impressive weight retention. Here we have the Xtreme Hunter. Wow, 100% weight retention, 149.9 grains. Here we have the Buffalo Bore Mono Metal, 190 grain. And we got 189.8 grains, so basically 100% weight retention with that one. And here we have the Underwood 220 grain hard cast. And that one only lost just under 10 grains. So also about 99% weight retention. Here we have the PMC Bronze 200 grain full metal jacket. 199.3 grains. So very impressive, guys. Very impressive. And finally, we have our jacketed hollow points, 200 grain Underwood ammo. Wow, 200.5 grains. So 100% weight retention there. And 199.5. So basically 100% weight retention. Wow, so pretty much all these bullets retained 100% of their weight with the exception of the hard cast bullets, which shed some mass. And the reason why is hard cast bullets can be a little bit brittle, but pretty impressive results, guys. Let me know what you think. Stay tuned for more 10mm penetration tests and 10mm content. If you want to see my 10mm videos, I put them all in my 10mm playlist, and I'll leave a link at the top right corner of this video. Other than that, thanks for watching. Take care. God bless. And don't forget the 3 Ps. Prepare, practice, and persevere.